Hello, and you are very welcome back to the Public Eye Business Podcast, brought to you by Granite Exchange. I'm your host, Sarah Travers, and throughout the series I'm speaking with local entrepreneurs and business owners to learn more about how their companies have come to be, to gain insight into their growth and find out how they continue to innovate. So wherever you get your podcasts from, remember to keep an eye out for all new episodes and subscribe to stay up to date. Today I'm joined by Rachael Harriott, owner of Harriott Communications. How are you, Rachael?
Hello, Sarah. I'm really well. It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you as always. So as usual, Rachael, we do a little bit of background for all of our listeners today on you and your business. So as I said, Harriott Communications is owned and managed by independent communications and public relations consultant Rachael Harriott. Rachael has over 20 years experience working with a range of clients across a wide range of sectors too. She's also got a wealth of experience providing strategic and tactical communications advice to some of the world's, the UK and Ireland's leading brands, businesses and organisations. So Harriott Communications offers a unique service in that they build bespoke teams to suit your requirements. Whether it's an individual or a team, Harriott Communications can build what you need to deliver results. Rachael and Harriott Communications have a fantastic network of associates working alongside them. Their network includes PR, marketing, design, advertising, digital marketing, photography, video, social media, event management and media training. So really a one-stop shop. Rachael is also a member of the Chartered Institute of Public Relations. Yep, that's quite an intro.
It is quite an intro. And who is that person, Sarah?
No, most people sit there and go, oh, right, is that me? You've been doing this for a while, Rachael. I know our paths have crossed and we go back, well, way back. I first remember you when you were working for the National Trust.
I know. And those beautiful sand dunes up in Portstewart.
We did a lovely shoot when my children were small and they're now 26 and 20. So
unbelievable. That was a beautiful day. And yes, our paths have crossed in lots of various sectors. So recently with our friends at the Construction Industry Training Board as well. So it's good to be here. And it's really interesting to be being here talking about me, because I'm so comfortable talking about my clients and other people, but when it comes to talking about yourself, you get a little bit.
This is something that's been keeping you awake at night, hasn't it? A little bit. It's just different. You're not used to as you say, you're used to doing this for other people, but I'm going to have to ask you questions about you and your business.
Talking about me is a strange place. It is, because it is always, it's not for what I do, it's about other people, it's about my clients, it's not about me. So this will be interesting.
It will indeed. And you've got some incredible clients. You do work with the top people and the top businesses out there. But I suppose let's find out a little bit about you. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What's your background?
I'm Belfast born and bred, and came from the most amazing family, supportive family. Mum Terry, who's no longer with us, she passed away 20 years ago. Daddy, who's still very much with us, and a guardian angel, we call him. And my big brother Mark, who has his own business. He runs an electrical business. So you could say there's definitely running your own business and being freelance is something that has always run throughout my family. My brother works for himself. My mum was an entrepreneur and probably inspired and has been an inspiration for everything that I've done in life and the chosen pathway of working for myself. But I suppose so. Yes. I
wanted to ask you a bit about your mum, because she is no longer with us, but she sounded like the most wonderful lady, and that entrepreneurial spirit really started with her. Tell us about her, because we're here in Newry, and she definitely had connections to Newry. She
did indeed. So Mummy's career path, she started out in the 70s. So you're talking about a young woman who was forging a career for herself in a very, very difficult period of time in Northern Ireland, so 60s and 70s, and she was very, very forward thinking. She wanted to be a window dresser, so she was a window dresser. So art was her passion. Brought her portfolio to CNA. CNA saw this talent and went, we're going to train this kid. Sent her over to London, very young age, trained her as a window dresser, came back, trained in CNA. And did all the displays in Belfast. And the story goes, whenever she was expecting me, that was the time that she felt, right, I'm going to become a freelance window dresser. So this took her all over Ireland. So she would have done a lot of window displays here in Newry, Dublin, Derry, right across the place.
So you grew up with this mum that you totally respected and revered, but she was away, she was working, she was doing things.
100%. I mean, we would have been from a very young age. I remember standing in windows helping to dress windows. I was about like 6 or 7, and you get people coming up and rapping the window, and they're going, "You've got a child in there," and she's like dressing this mannequin. But it's just. But also it was the natural groove of actually knowing how to dismantle a mannequin from a young age and being able to dress it up and dress it down. And that was great. And I suppose that created a real bond between myself and my mum. And Mummy was very good at encouraging my love for theatre as well, and singing. And she has a story about me from a very young age turning down the radio and singing to her. And she was, "You can sing." I don't do that now, mind you.
But you did. Did you do that a lot as a young person?
Oh, yes. So
of course you're still young, but you know what I mean. Of course, a child.
I sound 10, but believe me, I don't look 10. Yes, theatre was a big thing for me when I was growing up, and then Mummy really enjoyed theatre as well, and encouraged me down that pathway. But it's funny because that's what I wanted from a young age. I wanted to work in theatre. That was my first passion before public relations. But then it's just the way life goes. You take a different path, and I discovered that public relations was something that I wanted to do. But it's funny because it's come full circle, because now I do a lot of work in theatre, and Lyric Theatre in Belfast is one of my clients, and it's such a joy to be able to tap into something that gave me a lot of joy and pleasure when I was younger.
And your daughter Evie now, she's really into the theatre.
Oh, big time. So we're heading over to London on my birthday in the next couple of weeks. So it's Hamilton and Cabaret.
Oh, I saw Hamilton last year. It's unbelievable. So that's great. So you've that bond continues, and a huge loss, I suppose, to lose your mum at such a young age.
It was very difficult, very challenging, because I just had my son Jake, and he was 5 months old, and her death, it was totally unexpected. So having to deal with, I suppose it was a sudden death, but in terms she had cancer. But we didn't know she had cancer, and that she was going through this. But she, at the time of her death, she had another business. It was a doll business called Amelia's Friends, and she'd been talent scouted by the QVC channel, and she was selling her dolls there. And I was actually helping her make the dolls at the time as well. So we had a little bit of a workshop in the house, putting little pantaloons on and stitching buttons and getting them all dressed and putting them in the boxes. And I helped her with the story of how she discovered that she wanted to make these dolls. So there's that pattern of storytelling.
And did she get to QVC?
She did indeed. So she went to Philadelphia. She was out there quite a few times, and I was out with her as well. This was around about 1998. So I went out to there was a whole Irish contingency that had gone out for St. Patrick's Day, and they had a massive party in the reception area, and all these traders were there, and it was, what an experience. And you were discovering all these stories of all these businesses right across Ireland. And
that was probably pretty novel back at those, maybe the first time that we were having these trade fairs in the States, showing people from the island of Ireland.
Incredible. But that was Mum. That was her drive to create something, and to actually and be proud from being from Northern Ireland as well.
A real trailblazer. Different to maybe your other friends' mums. Yes and no. I know at the time of when she did pass,
someone had commented to me that at her funeral, they'd never seen so many women at her funeral, or women at a funeral. It was huge. And the amount of women that were saying to me just how much my mum inspired them.
Oh. Very emotional, but that inspiration obviously led you to be creative all of your life. Tell us though how the PR journey began.
So I didn't, at the time it was introduced to me, I had no clue what it was. I mean, even in these mid-90s, it was still a young, growing, blossoming industry, and it wasn't maybe something you would have heard of here in Northern Ireland. It was always something that you need to go to London for that, you need to go to New York for that. So I was at a bit of a crossroads in my A-level year. I knew that theatre was always my passion, and that was the direction of travel, and I wanted to go to university to study theatre, but that wasn't to be, and that's just part of the journey. That's the way it goes. And I was a bit of a crossroads, and I was thinking, well, what am I going to do? So in school, I went to St. Louise's in West Belfast, and the teachers there at that time, incredibly supportive. The careers advice was amazing. And I sat down with the teacher, and they actually had said to me, do you know, I think you would be very good at public relations.
Gosh, good careers advice.
What is it? And they gave me a leaflet for the university that I attended. At that time, it was called Trinity and All Saints in Leeds. It's now called Trinity University. And I went, right, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. So my degree was communication and cultural studies with public media, but within public media you could pick modules, and all my modules were public relations. But it's funny, Sarah, because even in that era of the mid-90s, ad fab was very popular, and you were looking at Patsy and Adina and thinking, is this what public relations is all about? And even now, the film that they had with Kate Moss, and I love that, because that's the side. It's funny because that's really not what it's like.
Was it ever like that a little bit? Maybe in the 80s, 90s?
It depends on who your clients are. I suppose at the end of the day, it's who are you representing. If you're in the fashion industry, I'm not saying that it's like that.
Rubbing shoulders with celebrities all the time and quaffing champagne.
I wish I was doing that, Sarah.
That's not what you do every day.
Oh yes, every day. But so I went along, did my degree. I knew from pretty early days that public relations was definitely where I wanted to go. And luckily within the degree, you had the opportunity to have work placements to give you a little bit of an outing in what you wanted to do, to see if that was the direction of travel. But funny enough, even though I was out in Leeds, my heart was always at home. So all my work placements were all back in Northern Ireland. And then all the way through my degree, I kept on thinking, London.
That's where I need to be.
Need to go to London. I need to do this. And then it started, a big dawning on me was actually, no, there's talent in people that I can learn from here in Northern Ireland. So I was coming back, and it was
a good time though to be coming back to Northern Ireland. The troubles were ending. We'd bit more stability.
Good, yeah.
So we were a little bit behind everywhere else, but you were probably there at the right time.
100%, Sarah. And it's funny because we've just marked the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement, and I remember saying to uni friends, we were watching it all unfold on the TV, and people were going, oh my God, Rachel, this is amazing, because I would have got asked an awful lot about Northern Ireland. What's it like to live here? Because we were still in that very tumultuous period. And
so what years were you at uni?
1995 to 1998. So the Good Friday Agreement was signed when I finished, and I always said, if we had that, if the Good Friday Agreement, because it was really touch and go whether or not that was going to happen, and I said to my mum, if that happens, I'm coming home.
Yeah. Aww.
And it did happen. And how wonderful it has been.
I don't know if you've been watching the series at the minute
hearing
once
a lot
upon a
about
time
it
in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Gosh, we've come so far, and I had a very similar journey to you, and I went to uni and studied journalism. Your course was one of my choices, but I picked the broadcast journalism course in Nottingham Trent University, and I was a little bit before you, so I was still coming back and we hadn't quite reached peace. But yeah, it was an interesting time to be. There was like a phoenix rising feeling.
100%, Sarah, because even though I'd gone to Leeds, my heart was always here, and just you knew this place was brimming with talent. I mean, I used to tell people about all the places that you can visit here, the artists that were here, the creatives that were here, and people were quite surprised at that, and because they were getting fed a different story, but I knew this place was special, and home is always where the heart is, and I'm glad I made the decision to come home, because with Mum passing so quickly, I had those couple of years with her, and then I was starting to look around. I had my degree. Where do I go here? Where do I find the connections to start building my career in public relations? Mummy was very keen that I stayed within her business, Amelia's Friends, and helped build that. But I suppose I'm too much of a mummy's daughter. It was like, I want to have something of my own.
Okay.
I want to build something of my own. And my mum respected that. And she was like, I get that.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of place that I come from. So just to think back at, my career trajectory where I've been. So I've worked in, agencies, PR agencies. I mean, my very first PR agency was a place called Harriott Communications, and that was what a tremendous way to start your career with some amazing people who I'm still in contact with today. But then it moved through to other agencies, into charity, into tourism, and just the more and more I was moving around and moving in different circles, I could start to see a need for having a toolkit, a way of providing a PR service, but across a multitude of sectors. So it's a transferable skill. So you don't have to just be specialist in certain areas. Yes, there are people who do specialise, but that toolkit that you have can easily transfer across.
Were you always self-employed, or did you work for people?
Oh no, I worked for people.
Okay.
So funny enough, going back and connecting into the story with Mummy, when I was expecting my daughter, that's when I realised I'm ready for this. I'm ready. It took a little bit of time to get the confidence to go. I can
and the experience and the contacts and all of that.
100%. So you do get to a stage where you go, actually, I can do this, but it's having that confidence and belief in yourself to go, let's do this, let's give it a go. And it is a scary thing to do, actually, stepping out on your own and just starting from scratch and going, right, this is it.
It's huge, really. You're leaving the salary, the pension, all of the perks. But what did it bring to your life?
It is the most rewarding experience working for yourself. I always felt that as a public relations practitioner, I wanted to bring solutions to people who were maybe struggling with, well, where do I go with this? And show them how public relations, but not just that, communications as a tool can help you build, can help you develop. And there's nothing as satisfying as when the penny drops and people actually see the benefit of it and how it's going to help them grow and develop, and being the person to do that gives me a great sense of satisfaction. And I always say it's not about me, it's about clients. It's what I can bring to the table to help people.
So what do you bring to the table? Talk us through the process, if you like.
Oh, am I going to have to give away trade secrets here, Sarah?
Well, I'm just wondering, because I mean, you are so successful, and the thing is, you came from the industry, so you had that sort of experience and the big names that you worked for whenever you were talking to people. Did you find that the clients kind of were all there queuing up, or did you have to work hard to get them?
You had to work hard. It's a very competitive industry. There's so many great people out there, but it's finding your unique selling point. And I mean, at the end of the day, people are buying into me, the personality that I can bring to the table, but also, you know, I'm fun to work with, but also it's about the hard work that goes behind that and the structure behind that and guiding people and giving people a sense of, I feel comfortable, and that there's a two-way flow of talking about a project, that if something's not going right, you say something's not going right. But they are able to lift the phone to me straight away and have those kind of conversations at any time of the day. But it's working in partnership, and it's about listening, and it's about having that care. And I think as well, that's what I bring to the table. I care a lot about my clients, and I care as much as they do about what they do.
And are you very selective? Do you have to be really passionate about what they're doing? I know you've said that the skills and the toolkit is transferable, but you know, if you're working with the sector, you think, gosh, I don't really get this, but others that make you just light up inside, you know, those?
That's a really good question. I'm just a real advocate for communications as a foundation of everything. If you get good if you got a strong communication strategy, it'll take anyone, any business, anywhere.
And does it help if they've got a good culture, if there's a good brand already, or do you like them from scratch?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Bit of both. I like the challenge of helping to build it up, but then people who have been doing it for a long time, then people sort of get set in their ways. So that's a challenge as well, to try and open people up to new ways of thinking, because that's their baby too, and they're passionate about what they do.
And how do they? Yeah, and you don't want to relinquish control if we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
So going back to, what are the different services then that you can offer to clients?
Well, I think I do actually think you're a bit of a psychologist at first, because when you're sitting and you're having that conversation with the clients, it's all about getting under the skin and about being that added bolt on. So I suppose that's another unique selling point of my business, is that we become that added part of what they do. So I try and get people to think about the business as another part of their team, that we're not an outside entity coming in. We're coming in to be part of your business team and help to extend that.
So you're really immersing yourself?
100%, really getting in under skin. And also going back to that point of caring, we care about their business as much as we care about what we can bring to the table. I think that's so important. And also...
And I can vouch for that. I can see that you do that. I mean, you live, eat, sleep, breathe. You would think that you were a member of the team and not somebody brought in from outside.
Yes, 100%. And I think that's so important. And I hope if mummy's, wherever she may be, whatever, that she's looking down and going, that's my girl. Because it's important to, and I think it's important to be authentic as well. And be transparent and honest, and they're all attributes that have come through my mum.
PR has always been your passion, and there are many other people now. It's become, a very busy marketplace at the minute, hasn't it? So there are a lot of competition out there, and also PR has transformed. I mean, yes, it's about storytelling fundamentally, but it's transformed with the digital age, hasn't it?
And that's been one of the big challenges for me. I mean, I came in the 90s, and I've travelled that route of that traditional route of public relations. It's funny, I was talking to someone earlier on, and I remember sitting in the office of Life Communications getting the photographs, and you had to wait for the photograph to be printed.
After the event, and you sat there waiting, you didn't do anything. It was actually easier, wasn't
it? You waited, you came in, you typed up your caption, you cut out, you stuck it on the back, and you posted it to the picture editor. Fax machines. Yes, you had to fax the press release.
You cut it out and stuck it. You literally cut and paste.
Cut and paste.
Jeepers.
But this was, that sounds so medieval now, doesn't it? It really
and now
does.
you're sitting at events and it's like live Twitter. I mean, the event's done and dusted as soon as it's over.
100%.
Is that better, or is it stressful? More stressful?
I like it.
Right.
I do like it, and the speed of it, because I work at speed as well, and I really do enjoy that. But the challenges that social media brings to the table for brands and for clients as well, that's a whole different ball game from what we were dealing with back in the 90s and the early noughties.
And did you embrace it fully straight away?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I'm a massive advocate of learning. CPD, continuous professional development, all the time. And even during COVID, I knew that digital communications was something that I really needed to sharpen the pencil on. So I did a diploma.
Did you? Of course you did. Of course you did.
I did a diploma with the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, who are a really great body in helping professionals to develop, and I'm delighted that I did that during COVID.
And professional freelancers as well, so you're not maybe getting sent on the training course by the company. You have to go and find it yourself. So there are places to always get that help and support.
This podcast is sponsored by Granite Legal Services, a niche business law practice located in the heart of Newry City. We provide legal advice and representation to individuals and companies alike across a wide range of industries on an assortment of legal matters which can affect a business, such as corporate, commercial, employment, dispute resolution, regulatory and compliance. We focus on providing legally sound, commercial and practical advice to our clients. To get in touch, contact 028 30 262200 or visit www.granitelegalservices.co.uk to find out more about the firm and our services.
If there's anyone listening to this now that maybe has a son or a daughter wanting to get into the PR industry, or they want to get into it themselves, what advice would you give? What tips?
Research. You've got to really understand there's so many different facets to public relations, as we discussed earlier on. Listen, learn, and just get as much information as you possibly can about the industry.
So what kind of warnings would you give?
Be prepared to work hard. But I suppose that's coming from a place of being someone who runs their own business. It's hard work, and yes, that competitiveness as well. How do you make yourself stand out, particularly if you're going for a job interview? Mm-hmm. So how are you going to be able to, what personality and what skill can you bring to the table that's going to set you aside from everybody else? And it's also not to be fearful about being yourself. Mm-hmm. And there's that wonderful saying of be yourself, everybody else is taken. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, if you have your own stamp and your own approach and your own flair and your own style, that will take you places
you don't even know exist.
That you don't even know exist.
But, it is difficult too, because when you're on your own, you have to keep believing in yourself, don't you? You have to keep bigging yourself up, celebrating the wins, because, it's become a crowded marketplace. And then we saw during COVID the rise of the influencer and the person who didn't come from the PR background, but actually is doing an okay job and, is advertising all of these brands and products, and then those that were existing or, existed already or established, you think, who are these people? Is that hard? Do you
embrace it? I embrace it. I embrace change. I embrace things. that are good, Sarah. Mm-hmm. If
do you work alongside influencers?
Mm-hmm, I do indeed. And again, I suppose there's still that element of the traditional side of me going, well, what is the right fit? At the end of the day, it's things will move and change. But it's always about going back to the bottom line. Is it the right fit? How do you engage with them? It's that kind of approach. So yes, I say change is great, and it's all about does it fit the strategy? Is it right for your client? It all goes back to it's knowing your landscape and doing your research.
And, we were talking about those that wanted to maybe start that PR career. So, there are a few challenges, but it's hugely rewarding as well.
It's amazing. It's
when it goes well.
Yeah, it's an amazing industry. And just to go back to the point that you were making there about, working for yourself can be very rewarding. It can be a very terribly lonely place as well. So I always think the mental health and well-being is very, very important, which is why I surround myself with people that I can talk to and bounce things off, and that is so important. And it's really important to take time out too, because you are so, and I suppose I'm talking here and you can probably sense the passion that I have, and I don't hide that. And why should I? If I enjoy something that I do, and I'm proud of it, I'm going to be passionate.
Of course.
Some people sort of go, "Ooh, you're a bit passionate there." But why?
It's just different personality types. You're super enthusiastic about everything that you do. You give it the 100%.
Because it's coming from a place of honesty and care, and why not show that? So, but yes, it is so important that you check in on your mental health and well-being, not just even being in your own, but just generally, because the industry it's fast-paced, it's competitive, and all of that is amazing, but all of that also can be very stressful.
Of course, and we're seeing more and more people in the public eye and maybe in business that just need to take time out from time to time.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
I mean, that's coming from a place of strength when you realise that you have to go, right, I just need to just push back and just take about, a couple of days out, and then you recharge, and then you're ready to go again.
Well, you're just overstimulated now all the time, social media. You never switch off, and especially when you're self-employed, I think it can become completely overwhelming.
And that's the thing about social media, because you get clients to me saying, where did you get that from? Where did you find that? And I'm going, well, I'm on all 24 looking in different things, seeing what's going on in the world. And
it's hard because you have to do that for your clients. But what's the worst thing that would happen if you said, oh, I missed that, sorry, I must go and check it out? Have you got to that place in your head where that's okay if I came to a wee bit late to the party?
100%. Why not? Just be honest.
Exactly.
Just always be honest, because
nobody died here. It's okay.
Exactly.
And do you have to advertise to get work still? Well, how do you do that?
It's interesting because it's a real mixed bag for me. A lot of my work's word of mouth. And also because I'm so old.
Oh, stop it. Well, then if you're so old, I'm decrepit.
If you do a good job, people talk. Which is great, but also I found Google Business incredible. A lot of people find me through there, and through the reviews that have been left on my Google Business.
Is that any wonder? I mean, just talk us through, some of the businesses that you've worked with over the years and the projects and campaigns that you're most proud of. My goodness, we better extend this by half an hour.
I don't want to leave anybody out.
I know,
but I
well,
suppose
pick a couple.
I suppose. Looking during COVID and what happened during COVID, because that was very scary for my business, because one moment you were sitting surrounded by people working on campaigns, and the next thing the world just closed down. So all the work that I had disappeared overnight.
All the events, all the campaigns.
Everything. And I sat at home and went, right.
All of that.
Okay. Let's take a deep breath and just crisis communications in action for my business. And I decided, right, that's where the diploma came in for the digital communications. Right, well, look, if there's not going to be, this is a good time to retrain. And have a look at my business and go, well, where do I need to grow? Where do I need to sharpen my pencil? So COVID, a horrible time for everybody. That's where I just decided, right, I'm going to train up.
Yeah.
And then there were other businesses, while everyone sort of regrouped and were after sort of the whole close down, it was then businesses were coming back and going, but look, we need to keep our voices alive during this time. How do we reach our audiences, even though that we can't physically see them?
Yeah.
Where do we go? So this is where you started to see a lot of digital. Everybody went on digital to reach out. So you had artists singing online.
That's right.
And there you had Joe Wicks doing his all his
hip
exercises.
classes nearly killed me.
Yeah. So I was working with the Construction Industry Training Board and the Lyric Theatre as well during those times. So the Lyric did a lot of their content went online to give people the opportunity to see shows that they wouldn't have had the opportunity to see.
Oh my goodness.
And
that was you.
Well, that was the Lyric. I'm only as good as what my clients do.
Oh.
So the Lyric had the Lyric online.
Yeah. That was so fabulous.
It was
I didn't
amazing.
realise that, Rach.
They are an amazing team, headed up by an amazing lady called Claire Murray, and the awesomeness that is Jimmy Fay as well. And how lucky and how privileged am I to have the opportunity to work with that team. Everybody, they were amazing, and the same with the Construction Industry Training Board. So again, we went into what do we need to do to keep people, because at the end of the day, we knew that at some stage we would be coming out of COVID and coming out of lockdown. So preparedness, getting yourself ready, taking that time out to reskill, look at how does your business manoeuvre through this, and what do we need to do to get when we get out to the other side.
Yeah.
So again, training. So a lot of people were training,
That's
during that time, and including myself, and there were some wobbly moments. That was a very, very tricky period for us all, but we got there and we came out the other side, and lucky for me, I'm still working with the Lyric Theatre. Lucky for me, I'm still working with the Construction Industry Training Board, and then new clients have come on board. So the wonderful Castle Espy, I've just enjoyed this rediscovering the beauty of Strangford Lough and the work that the volunteers and the team do there, and it's what an asset WWT Castle Espy is. And then, see, this is the thing, Sarah, this is where you start to go, am I going to miss anybody
Who do I work
else?
with?
I know, who do I work with?
What's my name?
And then again, working with people like the wonderful Donal O'Connor on Belfast Tradfest and Belfast Whisky Week, and of course the amazing team at the Eastside Partnership, the Eastside Arts Festival.
Yeah.
So I'm very... Sarah, I don't take this for granted, and it all has come from a place of a lot of hard work. I mean, I didn't get here overnight. This is hard work, hard graft, times of when you do question yourself, am I good enough? But that spurs you on to go, actually, no, I am good and I can do this. And success for me is when my clients, when I see them happy, and when I know that they are, that people are talking about them, because this is not about me. I'm only as good as my clients because I'm representing them.
Absolutely.
And what they're bringing to the table, and I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed, and I'm very grateful.
And if you could work with any brand in the world, apart from your fabulous brands you're working with already, who would it be and why? This is the thing, Sarah. I'm really You're
lucky.
doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're living the dream.
I'm living the dream. I said at the very top of the conversation, my passion is my home, this place that I come from. I'm very proud to be from Northern Ireland, and just anything that is connected with promoting this place, the people from here, that would fill my heart with joy, and I do get the opportunity to do that. I'm also working with a tourism cluster called Loch and Shillin tourism cluster as well, and just there's some gems there that I did not know about, which is incredible considering I have worked in the tourism sector. But that's what's amazing about Northern Ireland. You think you know it, and then you're unpacking this lots of entrepreneurs. There's so many entrepreneurs in this small place that we call home that it absolutely blows my mind. And you're talking around all different sectors. I mean, some of the TikTokers from here, my son would tell me, he's 21 and he's doing international business studies at the moment at Northumbria University, and he would say to me, what about this TikToker? And I'm really glad that he keeps me,
keeps you young.
He keeps me young, and I'm going, right, well, let me see this. And I'm going, oh my goodness, these are young people from Northern Ireland with incredible amount of reach, making content that is just on a par with any other TikToker around the world. And that makes me so proud. This place is just awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah, Northern Irish and proud. I love it. So what's the Rachael Harriott out of work like? Do you get any downtime? Tell me about the home life.
Yes, I do indeed. And thank goodness I have a very supportive, patient husband who really helps me unwind and takes me to a calmer place.
What's his name?
Craig.
Oh.
And he enjoys gardening, and I'm actually starting to really get into that. I've been taking a lot of photographs. I shouldn't be saying this, but I've been taking a lot of photographs of our plants and the gorgeous flowers and putting them up on my Facebook. And it's actually Craig that's doing all the work, and I think people think it's me. And I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful, but take the glory. And our gorgeous dog Milo as well, who was again a saviour during lockdown, and also because I'm working from home mainly at the moment. Our loyal chocolate lab, who we love taking out on walks and things like that. So just family time and that downtime,
the decompression, is
really, really important, because it's all part of that that health and well-being. And my husband is a very, very relaxed, chilled out guy, and thank goodness that I have that personality just to calm things down a bit.
And they say opposites attract.
Chalk and cheese, yes. And equally, he really gets that. He enjoys that buzz and that sense of all the things that I'm doing. And I think he just looks at me and goes, "How do you do all of this?" And it's just coming from a place of, if you love what you do, it'll never be work.
Proud. I love it. Rachael, we've near the end of the podcast, and as we always ask every guest in here, we have a final question about the purpose, I suppose, and to inspire existing business owners and those ambitious entrepreneurs out there to grow their business by offering an insight into the success of businesses such as your own, Harriott Communications. What advice would you give to people who may have a business idea but have no idea where to begin, or are unsure as to whether the risk is worth taking?
Don't even, if you've got an idea, don't even second guess it. Just go for it. Have belief in yourself. We only pass through here once. You've got one opportunity. Just grab everything and just go for it.
And there we'll leave it. Rachael Harriott, what a lovely guest you've been. Thank you so much for joining me in the Public Eye podcast studio. You can also tune into another edition of the Public Eye podcast. Our next guest coming in is James Nicholson, Managing Director of JN Wines. That's going to be a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye. This podcast was recorded in Granite Podcast Studio. Interested in starting up your own podcast but don't know how? Granite Podcast Studio can help. Record your podcast in our state-of-the-art studio, which is based in the heart of Newry City. Our studio has cutting-edge and user-friendly technology and can seat up to 4 people. We also provide an editing service for our team, using your guidance and editing notes to provide you with a flawless finished product, leaving your listeners wanting more. For more information on how you can get started, visit www.granitepodcaststudio.com.